And we have some sports news out of Afghanistan. The female youth national football team and their families, a group of 80 in total, have been granted asylum by Portugal after trying to leave Afghanistan for weeks unsuccessfully. The group has now arrived in Lisbon. The Taliban have banned girls from playing any sport. And fearing what their lives might become, the team had been moving between safe houses before being granted asylum. All of the girls, aged between 14 and 16, want to become pro football players in the future. As well as athletes, Afghan musicians are also facing oppression under the new Taliban regime. Afghanistan's only institute for music has closed down, and its members fear for their safety and their future. Their director, who is in exile in Australia after leaving the country in July for medical treatment, is hoping to help.
It was a building full of music, hope and optimism. 250 students were enrolled at the National Institute of Music in Kabul, a third of them female. A safe place to practice, laugh and discover the world. But the school was constantly under threat. Its director survived a suicide bomb attack. From exile in Australia, his defiance is undimmed even as the Taliban have banned music in public places.
Still, I believe that no one can take the music from the life of a human being. You can't kill music. Music is not going to die.
I am an ambassador from the land of hope, these girls sing. I stand up against oppression. Self-confident and passionate, wearing their national costume, a young orchestra with a female conductor at the podium. One of two that Afghanistan's only music school produced. A sound the Taliban does not tolerate.
That lack of knowledge of this beautiful language is probably based on the ignorance of the Taliban and also on their narrow interpretation of the teaching of Holy Islam. There's not a single Islamic country around the world where music could have been banned or music is banned currently.
The centerpiece of this Kabul music school is Zohra, the first Afghan women's orchestra. It played 47 concerts worldwide in the last 10 years, including in Berlin. The Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra's horn player welcomed the ensemble's members on their visit to the capital.
We love playing music, not only because we like to make beautiful sounds, but because we can express our souls with it. And when you play music, you become one with the music. And if you're not allowed to do that, it's such a terrible thing. I just can't even imagine it.
But the orchestra has stopped playing. Even before the Taliban seized power, conductor Zarifa Adiba could not take her instrument home. It was too dangerous.
I don't have viola at home, and I never ever practiced viola at home because I'm afraid that anyone should know that I'm playing viola.
Conductor Zarifa and her colleague Negin are now safe in the US. All of the other orchestra members are in hiding in Kabul.
For more on that subject, we can speak now to the hornist we just saw in that report, Sarah Willis. She's a horn player with the Berlin Philharmonic, and she's also hosts Sarah's Music, a program here on DW. Sarah, what's gone through your mind with the news from Afghanistan this past month, especially when it comes to music?
Goodness, well, just hearing the report just now and hearing the words of Zarifa and Dr. Samas, I just have to think of this wonderful day I spent with them and how impressed I was with the bravery of these young girls. Because, okay, they were very young, some of them, and maybe the danger wasn't quite, registered yet. But they all knew that what they were doing could have consequences, and they did it anyway. And I just admired them so much, and it's really breaking my heart to hear these reports now.
So, as you said, you met members of the women's orchestra Zohra in Berlin when they were on tour here 4 years ago. Tell us more about that encounter.
Well, I showed them the Philharmonie. They were so impressed with the concert hall, and I was impressed at how much they knew about classical music, actually, which is a great sign that they were getting very good training, not just in the Afghan music, but also in general music training. And we had a very fun morning together, and then I accompanied them to their rehearsal and their concert at the Memorial Church, the Gedächtniskirche in Berlin. And there'd just been that terror attack on the church, on the Christmas market there, and they all went outside and laid flowers, and it was very moving to see them doing something for us. And it was just a wonderful, happy, music-filled day. And they're young girls, you know, they're chattering, laughing, getting ready for the concerts. And they're so colorful when you see them in their beautiful clothes that they were wearing for the concerts. And the joy of music making, it's just, music just connects. And you could sense this joy all the way through the concert.
You mentioned that they are playing classical Western music as well as Afghan music, but classical music is being played all around the world. But what could happen to the country's musical heritage, Afghanistan's musical heritage, when with the government so anti-music?
This is the big question. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. The reports of the last few weeks are really sad and really worrying. If it carries on like this, then the musical heritage of Afghanistan will really suffer, because it's a whole generation of music making, but also music teaching that will literally be silenced. And if we are still allowed to hope, we are hoping it may not come to this, but it's not looking good as far as I can see it at the moment. And it's not only that this music needs to be learned, the instruments, they're these wonderful traditional Afghan instruments, the rubab, for example, and the sitar and the tabla. They need to be taught, and most of this music isn't written down. So it's taught from generation to generation. And if it's silenced now, how are these girls going to pass it down? Not even the girls, the boys that were learning it too. How are they going to pass it down to the next generation? And a world without music, a silent world, nobody wants that.
And it's not only about music itself, isn't it? I mean, musical education means so much more, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It's this feeling of creating something together, to be expressing your soul. And learning music is very good for the brain. We know that it's very good for young children, for their brain development. And also, what was important in Afghanistan at the ANIM was the fact that boys and girls studied together, and they learned about the interaction together, because they'd been separated and they were never allowed to interact like that. So you can see in some of the videos of the school, they're sitting next to each other playing together. So that's an important social aspect as well.
Sarah Willis, horn player with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you.